many smiles did you count today? Have you seen anyone smiling today? You have? How about you? Have you seen someone smiling?
Yes, you.
I'm sure at home, right? Or somewhere here at work. And I mean, we're in Finland, right? Where, for example, recently a friend from Estonia, he worked with Finns and he's visiting Finland. And he was like, he has never seen a Finn smile. And I'm like, what do you mean? It's the easiest thing in the world. Just follow me and you will see smiling Finns every step of the way. It's very easy, at least for me, and I will tell you a bit how easy it is and what you can do to make Finns and everyone else in the world smile. Let me ask you another question. How many smiles do you see when you look at me? A lot? I love it. Anyone else? Any guesses? How much smiles do you see when you see me? Any numbers, any guesses? A lot?
All the time.
Yes. That's very true. I would give it a proper number. I see over 100,000 smiles when you look at me. And I will tell you along my story how that number came about. And to be precise, give me a sec. It's 100,000 plus approximately 150 smiles. And the 150 might have something to do with that box. About 3 years ago, I studied for the very first time in my life. And it was a course called The Science of Happiness. And that was a huge eye-opener for me. I learned a lot about how you make other people happy, how you can make yourself happy. And in those 8 weeks, it was an online course for free, you can all take it. I learned that I was always a very happy workaholic. I was a workaholic my whole life, but whatever I did, I was always a very, very happy workaholic. I would always help, support, do whatever it takes to make sure you strive at work. It wasn't so much about me, it was more about you. And in the course, I also learned a lot about smiles. And let me just give you an idea what are the benefits of smiles in your life. You have a better mood if you just smile. It will lower your blood pressure. If you're stressed, the stress will be relieved if you just smile. You will build better relationships. Your immune function, right? It gets towards winter, currently, luckily not. In Finland, it's a beautiful sunny day, but your immune system gets a bit weak. So if you smile, that improves your immune system. If you have pain, real physical pain, even that will be relieved by smiles. And believe it or not, it leads to a longer life. And that is excellent news for me because as a chocolate angel, I'm planning to do what I do as a chocolate angel for another 50 years. So I better smile a lot so that I reach the nice age of 100. And I must say, in preparation for today, I wasn't always a master of smiles. Let me go back in time when I was a teenager and we were playing, I was in a boarding school, and the game we did, we played blind. So we would walk around and knew exactly where to walk, etc. And all with eyes closed, right? And We found our way, everything beautiful, and I'm not stepping over now. And I overdid it because it was in the evening and I brushed my teeth blind with eyes closed. And then something very tragic happened because I turned to the water tap and tried to, get water to free my mouth, and I broke my front teeth. Yeah, thanks. That is exactly the reaction. It was really painful. And at the same time, it really kind of was the base for my lifelong fear of dentists. It was just horrible. And I have to say, because it was so kind of, I was so afraid of dentists, I would even run around for over 2 years with a temporary solution up here. So I was not very comfortable really showing my teeth. So a smile can even work without your teeth, right? You just smile and you don't need to see the teeth. But if you burst out laughing, then your teeth are shown. So I wasn't very comfortable doing that pretty much for my whole life. And it was about 10, 11 years ago that I finally got to the point, okay, it can't continue like that. So I had to go through really painful and long exercise of getting it properly, and now you don't really see a difference. And to be honest, that amount of money which went into my teeth is the equivalent of 100,000 smiles. Because for me, a smile is somewhere between priceless and it costs less than 10 cents. So to give you an idea why I would say, if you look at me, you see 100,000 people smiling. But the interesting thing, what I do as a chocolate angel, even when I was not comfortable showing my teeth and were perhaps, not so comfortable as I am nowadays and kind of confident, but even back when I was a teenager, about 16, 17 years old, my oldest friend who knows me from those times, she said even back in those times, you would always take your favorite candies and offer it to others. I was like, really? I always thought I would eat them all by myself. No, she said you walked around and would offer it to everyone. And in a way, that's what I still do as a chocolate angel. I walk up to people with a big smile, and then a box with chocolate goes open, and people suddenly like, oh, what just happened? I remember someone in the audience, she had that experience, and the next moment she was like, oh, I know who you are. It really became a kind of signature of mine. So I have to say, in general, school was absolutely not my thing. I mean, when it was over, it was better for me, and believe it or not, but when I finished my school times, I said, never ever in my life will I speak a single word English. I don't need that. Oops. And in general, I had to always find the balance between having a complete lack of focus. I usually can't focus more than 1-2 seconds on anything, or I'm jumping into complete hyper-focus, where everything what I do, even if it was completely useless stuff, and ask my mom, I would do a lot of useless stuff, I would focus on that for hours. But this unbalance for me really made me struggle. And the day when I got into my very first job, that's when I found the dedication in my life. I was like, oh, work, that's for me. I'm needed, can I go to work and become a happy workaholic? That's in a way what I did. And the funny thing, looking back, even in my very first job, and that's a very long time ago, chocolate was involved. And I was working in a company where trucks would deliver chocolate from the factory into the different supermarkets. So twice a year, when it was time for seasonal chocolate, right? So I had to deal, I think usually in August it started that you had to deal with a smiling kind of Santa Claus, you know, in chocolate. And as soon as that chocolate was gone, it was all about Easter. And I had even once, I was in charge of getting 3 huge trucks of chocolate from Hungary to the customs office. So me with my tiny little car in front and the truck driver behind me trying to get chocolate delivered to Germany. So there was always kind of those little signs that, yes, Verena, you should become a chocolate angel, but I just couldn't see it. And so you might think, so okay, we talked now about smiles, we talked about chocolate. So how is it that, you know, me with a really, really strong German accent ended up in Finland doing what I do as a chocolate angel? What happened was I worked for Nokia, and I worked for Nokia in Germany for quite many years. And during all those years, I would because over the time I had different jobs, European jobs, at the end global jobs, and I would always work remotely. So I was based in Germany, in Düsseldorf, and would collaborate and support and work with people from all over the world. Depending on the job, it was all over Europe, Africa, different parts of the world, Dallas, Singapore, wherever. So for me, when I had a chance to really meet people face to face, to not just being informed, and you can build a working relationship with people remotely, but if you have a chance to meet them face to face, that makes a total difference. So about 11 years ago, I started that on every trip from Düsseldorf to Helsinki, duty free, I buy a couple of boxes of chocolate and started walking through the office. So, Mia, I might have met you one day. If anyone ever in a Nokia office offered you a piece of chocolate, there was only one person doing that. But it was really, I would just pretty much use the first hour in the office. I came in the morning with the boxes of chocolate and walked around the whole space. From desk to desk to desk to desk. Whether I knew the people or not, it didn't make a difference. And just offered them a piece of chocolate. And I would say, looking back, I guess that was my way of, my very personal interpretation of Nokia connecting people. Was my way to connect with people whether I worked with them or not. And the interesting thing is also that, for example, I always have that habit going to Finland. But it was a very different habit, so I would never do the exactly same thing going back to Düsseldorf. So I'm sorry for all my colleagues in Düsseldorf, I never did it for them. But there it was the other way around. Our works council, when they knew I'm going to Finland, they said, oh, please, Verena, can you buy us a couple of Fazer bars and bring them back to us? We will pay for it. So that was the chocolate angel on the other way. But, I mean, part of what makes me and what turned my habit into a chocolate angel is that, believe it or not, I remember every single person I ever worked with in the last 25 years. Names, faces, often context. And that really, I mean, if, for example, I see someone I met before, that is an immediate moment of joy for me, because I've met you before. When I recognized who are you, Maria, who are you? I was like, yes, exactly, I know exactly where and how. And often people was like, how is that possible? How can you remember every single one? And I guess it's a mix of I'm really interested in people, but if you ever are worried and say like, oh yeah, I think I know that person, but I really don't remember the name or anything, I can just highly recommend anyway talk to the person, right? Figure out how did you met, where, because I tell you, the chance that this person has exactly the same problem and thinks like, yeah, I think I know her, but I don't know exactly where I met her. Unless it's your cousin, then I think you should really know. But because I think it is really so easy to connect with other people, we are sometimes just a bit scared of it. And so in my story, I'm still not exactly here in Finland, right? About 7 years ago, I had the opportunity either to say, okay, that was my Nokia journey, thanks, but no thanks. But I got the opportunity to move to Finland, to continue working for Nokia Finland. And I have to say, I love this country, I love the people, I'm just happy here. So I took the chance, and 7 years ago I moved to Finland. And then I realized, because I'm not traveling anymore, so I don't use that chocolate-giving habit. But it became such a strong, way of connecting with people, so I just continued. I bought a couple of boxes of chocolate, supermarket, reduced price, whatever it was. And whenever I was stressed, I would walk around the office 10-15 minutes, either take a smoking break, right, as a stress reliever. I would take my box, and the key is not to have a box of chocolate somewhere at the table. It's really that moment that I come up to you, and I really disrupted people at their work desk, or I would even disrupt meetings. I have, in a way, no shame when it comes to that. And it doesn't even require language. It is just someone comes up to you with a big smile, gives you a moment of attention, the box goes open, and off she flies to the next one. And to give you at least 2 examples of really stressful times for me where it worked, or at least one example, because I once was informed by email that a colleague, which was really dear and close to my heart, passed away. And there's a dear colleague in the world who knows that I care about people. So when he wants to tell me someone passed away, he just adds the name in the subject line, which pretty much for me is the sign I know already that this person passed away. And the last time he did that, I was immediately so distraught that the only way for me to deal with the situation was to take my box. I logged out of the time system, and I would, for about an hour, walk through the whole office space I worked in. Because it's not just the energy you are getting from someone making you smile, the reaction gives so much energy back to me. Doing that for an hour, I was emotionally balanced enough to get back and do my daily duties. And so I was still in the corporate world and did it as a nice habit. I mean, there are still people who remember me from, oh yeah, you were the one, right, in the office who did that always. But about 3 years ago, I realized, as said, I was a workaholic my whole life, so I pretty much didn't saw anything except of work. Work was my life. But then it started that when someone who knew me, and she went to an event, and the food was already gone. The only thing was everywhere were different chocolate papers. And she was like, oh, please, I'm hungry. Can you give me at least some chocolate? And they were like, that wasn't from us. There was this strange woman walking around offering chocolate to everyone. And she was like, oh, the chocolate angel was here. And yes, the name, how I got my name, Chocolate Angel, has something to do with someone who was in the Microsoft IT leadership team and met me one day, and her very first reaction when I walked up to her was like, oh, the Chocolate Angel is here. So when I started to realize that I'm obviously so much better in making people smile compared to, forcing IT process through large corporations. I decided, I pretty much was standing at the edge and said, okay, what should I do? Right? Should I kind of try to force and see whatever? Or should I jump into the unknown and become the chocolate angel? And that's what I did. So in 3 years, I really stepped out of the corporate kind of wheel. And the interesting thing is a lot of those insights, what I told you about, I never saw them. I never even saw the effect of what that tiny little gesture had on people. It pretty much can change people's life. If someone you have never met in your life before, and they just are friendly to you. And I've done that now. I would say, I think I pretty much paid back the 100,000 smiles already easily in the last 10, 11 years. But I plan to do that for the rest of my life. And it really doesn't matter who you are in life. You can be a little child where I would always check first with the parents if it's okay, right? I'm not just, oh yeah, here, little one, can I offer you a piece of chocolate? It doesn't matter what is your role in life, right? I met some of the most famous current and former CEOs in Finland. They react exactly the same way as everyone else. And my dear Sadiq, when we met first time, whether you are an immigrant, whether you're a refugee, right, the most important, richest person in the world, it doesn't matter. If someone is friendly to you, you are just a human being, right? You have the same amount of blood in you than the other person. So for me, it really doesn't make any difference. It is a person who deserves that moment of positive energy. And the interesting thing is that, I think if I would have started doing that 10, 12 years ago, at the time, for example, in science like positive psychology, they were more focusing on the negative side of psychology. Nowadays, right, because this is such a lovely small country and a lot of interesting people are coming here, some of the largest experts in the world of positive psychology have met me and said, that's it. That's what, that just such a moment of positive attention from a complete stranger is a high quality connection which you might not ever be able to establish with anyone else. And yes, let me ask you, we have a couple of Finns in the room. How do you feel when, United Nations tells you you're living in the happiest country of the world? You think it's like, nah, not really. But can we change that and say you're living in the most content country? I think everyone is happy to accept that. So in a way, looking back at my life, that I did all those things, and I'm now living in the most content country of the world, making people smile, that really makes a difference. And as the audience is relatively so, let's do it right now, my dear. And partly, let's yeah, Mia, no, you get your second one. That's absolutely fine.
Thank you.
And if we look at the box, Sadiq, I'm coming back to you.
Oh, thank you.
You are most welcome.
This is what I was waiting for.
Thank you. The interesting thing, when you look at the box, because I've seen you listening in. The interesting thing when you look at the box, because I started not really knowing exactly what I do. Nowadays, right, the box is not just full of chocolate.
That's okay. Thank you.
No, it's not okay. Because the box is nowadays full of childhood memories. It is full of everything for everyone. Because the interesting thing is, you're already smiling if someone just walks up to you with a big smile. Then the box goes open. And in the past, I had different boxes. Nowadays, it's this very smooth, simple movement, right? You don't expect anything, and the next second people say, oh, that's the most beautiful box I've ever seen. I was like, it's a box full of candy, right? And then people find their childhood memories in the box. And that could be, for whom is that a childhood memory?
Yes, of course.
Let me ask you a second question. Do you like them? But the cool thing is, you see it in the box, so it triggers the memory to your grandfather, grandmother, whatever it was, but you are free to take something else, right? So I have to say, when someone told me, oh, isn't that boring if you just, walk around the world and, offer people candies, I'm like, there's no way that this is boring. That is the best thing you can ever do in your life. So, I think that what I would like really for you, one thing is, right, you all got now your sweet moment. And I usually say I have far too much positive energy for the good of just myself. So if you want, handshake, high five, hug, whatever you want. If you want some positive energy, just get it from me. And I would also ask you another thing. In the very beginning, I asked you about counting smiles around you. How many smiles have you seen in the morning? Where do you see smiles? There are small things what you can do to increase that counter. Right? If you wait in front of the bus, let someone else who's in a rush just walk in front of you. Notice those little smiles. Every single smile can make a difference to another person. So please join me in triggering more smiles in the world. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.